Hello, my name's Kenny, and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be upgrading my CR10, the original, came out back in 2016-2017, and it's kind of due for an upgrade at this point. It has almost everything stock. There is a little bit of insulation done to it. There is the tighter bed springs on it. Those came when I bought it about a year ago. But otherwise, everything else is stock, and it's kind of showing its age. Glass bed is pretty rough to print on. I typically use glue. I've tried tape before. It didn't quite work on it. It just melted it to it, and it was still hard to take off my prints. So I stopped using that, just went back to glue. Some things work well, some things stick way too well, and they're impossible to get off without breaking the actual part. So I went and on Amazon I got G-Tech's Metal PEI board. So I'm going to be putting that on. With that, I also wanted to make leveling easier. My goal is to start an Etsy shop with my two printers, and one of the biggest hassles is with it being how old it is and how the UI is. Really hard to level it, takes a lot of time, and overall is just tougher than I would like it to be. So I went out and I got the Creality CR Touch. Now, for those of you who already know, this does not work with the CR10. I thought it did. It technically can, but that's not how I'm going to do it. I'm actually doing a full motherboard update. So this is the Creality It's the Creality V4.2.7. Typically it's used in an Ender 3 or an Ender 5 or an Ender 3 Pro. However, there is software in which you can make it work for a CR10, so I will be walking you through how to do that today. But after lots of research and debating on whether to do Clipper or stick with Marlin, I've decided to just stick with Marlin because that's what I'm familiar with, and I already have Octoprint set up for this printer and my other printer that I think it's just going to be easier if I flash it with Marlin with Creality's own firmware. So today we are going to be starting with replacing the motherboard, making sure everything is back in working order. Then we're going to be flashing on the new firmware, and from there we will install the CR Touch. Now I will be doing a little bit of the CR Touch when I'm working on the motherboard due to the fact that the new board does have a spot for the cable. But most of that is going to be done after the process is complete, and the last thing will be installing the metal PEI sheet. I took off the back plate, had 5 screws, here, and here, and I just got done removing the screws for the power supply. I did make sure this was completely powered off, had no excess charge, and that I do not have any static buildup, so that I didn't ruin anything. When you're working with a power supply, you always want to make sure you do everything you can to not have any static on your body. Now, I won't be able to get that good of a shot for you guys. Unfortunately, I don't have the right setup to do that. But what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be going in, making sure I have every single cable taken out, everything labeled. Make sure you label it if it's not already labeled so you don't forget what goes where. And I'm going to be replacing everything in that with the new board that should run everything pretty well. Now, I never talked you guys through what was different with this board other than the fact that it works. Here, I'll put that so you guys can see it. Never talked through what was different with this board except for the fact that it works with the CR Touch. This board is a 32-bit board, silent. Therefore, you have more control over the sound of your motors, everything runs a lot quieter, and you have this little guy right here, which is how you control the CR Touch. I went with this one because, first off, I believe it's the only one that works with the base model CR10, but also it wasn't a bad price. Like, a lot of motherboards out there are usually around $80 to $100. This one was $38. Much better when you're just trying to upgrade your existing printer that you paid maybe 3 times the cost for. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to start taking everything out. I might just take off this power supply. I don't know yet. We'll see where we go. But I'm going to go into fast forward. I might explain what I'm doing. I might not. I guess we'll have to see. Real quick update. I'm coming back in. A lot of these do have hot glue in the holding everything in. So you're going to want to make sure that the hot glue is no longer holding it, but you also don't want to cut anything. So be very, very careful about getting all this hot glue off. Hi there, Future Kenny here. I realized that while going through this entire process, I completely forgot to tell you guys about one crucial step when replacing a motherboard. You need to make sure you label what every wire is. Now, some of them, like the motor control and the end stop wires, do already have small yellow labels on them, but a lot of the wires connecting to the board without a fancy connector are actually just wired in. They don't have labels, they don't have anything. So if you don't label them, you will lose your place very easily. Alright, quick update. I am done taking out the old board, and I am putting in the new board. One thing I learned when doing research was if you put in the power cables to the board itself first, that is going to make your life a lot easier. So I'm going to be doing that. I think I'm actually going to do all of these cables that aren't plug-in. I'm going to do those, then I'm going to put it back in, and I'll plug everything in from there. Should be pretty easy after that. The last thing I have left to do is plug this in and get the CR Touch cable routed in with everything else. Meaning, once I have that, everything should be good to go. Alright, let's hope this is long enough. because that is something I definitely did not check. All right, so I'm gonna go the small side through, as it'll be easier to get through this hole. There we go. All right, let's get this back up here so I can plug in the fan I forgot about. And it wasn't even the fan on the board itself, it was a fan on the, it was a fan for this housing itself. I just had to unplug it so that I could get everything out of the way. All right, so let's get this plugged in real quick. That's plugged in. Screen is plugged in. This is pulled as tightly as it can go. And that should be everything. I'm going to do one more once over. All right. From the look of it, everything's plugged in. Nothing's touching anything else. So we should be good to get this back in here. Time for upgrade number 2, which is I am going to be taking these off, taking this away. As you can see, maybe, I did a few prints on this since, and they stuck very well. Problem was, they stuck too well, and they weren't working. So, since both of these are going in the same area, I'm going to do both of them at the same time. Now, I got a little bit worried because I'm like, this looks very smooth. This is not what I thought it would be. So, this is G-Tech's metal PEI base plate. So, what we are going to be doing is we are going to be replacing the entire glass bed with one that comes off. Now, the way I'm going to be doing that is I'm going to take off this top plate from the bottom one, which is going to leave it so that all we have is a giant magnet. And luckily, this is actually fitting perfectly. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to go grab a microfiber cloth and some isopropyl alcohol, give it a quick spritz, wipe it down, and we will stick that on. All right, just gonna do 2 quick sprays, wipe it all down. Now, when I use isopropyl alcohol, I have learned that using 99% works so much better for me because 70% has too much water in it for some of the things I do, and 99%, although it might be a lot stronger, it just works better. So, on the back here we have some 3M tape, and I'm going to start by peeling off part of it, and you're going to want to try and line this up as best as you possibly can before letting it stick, because otherwise you can make it misaligned and it'll still work, it'll just be off and it'll bug you, it'll just not look the greatest. There we are. I'm going to do a little cleanup of that from the oils on my hands, as well as give it a nice press to keep it nice and, or to push it down nice and hard. Now, one of the things I was really worried about was when I got this, somebody had 3D printed a cable clip for the bed cable, which is a really good upgrade. Honestly, if your CR10 did not come with that, it's probably a good idea to do that. Otherwise, it can rip out the bed heating wires, and you really don't want to deal with that. But with that, they took out the spring. Without the spring, I have to have this corner tightened all the way down for it to be level. Now, that was also another reason for wanting the CR Touch, was because if I can't level this by hand on this corner, that means that corner will never be fully level. So, having the ability to do that is going to be a lot. Having the ability to auto level it is going to make it a lot easier in case this is not quite as high. However, I will say this magnet was a lot thicker than I thought it would be. Meaning, wow, that was strong. I pinched my fingers. Anyway, this magnet's a lot stronger than I thought it would be, as you can tell, and thicker, so it shouldn't be that much of an issue. Now, I will say, upon first look, this is not as... Oh, that's a nice sound, though. This is not as PEI as I have seen in some people's videos. Could that just be their recording quality? Yeah. Could that be that this is a different brand? Of course. But this should, I'm just going to give it a little spritz. This should make it so that all of my prints come off so much better. I don't need glue. I don't need any of that. When it's done, I can just lift up, give it a quick bend, and it'll pop right off. That's going to take some getting used to, is lining this up when trying to put it back on. But that is as quick as it is. I'm done. That's all you need to do to replace your bed. Granted, you do have to level it, stuff like that, but seeing as I have one more thing, I'm done with this part for now. Now we are on to the CR Touch. This thing was, first off, smaller than I thought it would be. It is this size of my pinky, but also had a lot more in it. Like this has, I believe these are bed risers, which I don't know what that would be used for. I truly don't. Then we have this, and this. All for this little guy. That could be why, because from the look, oh no, it would just, alright, after a quick read, I don't need two of these. These are actually just extra. What I do need is this one, and I was doing it backward. So this is going to go on here and be in place of, be behind the fan cover of two of these screws. Then it will be hooked on like this. So why don't I get this screwed on and plugged in, and then I will work on that portion. But honestly, this is a pretty simple install. I guess having to go through and do all these loops just to get this to work had me worried that it was gonna be super hard and that things weren't gonna fit well, stuff like that. But honestly, it seems very, very straightforward. Like, you screw it in, I think my downfall was also how much research I did, because a lot of people who have the CR10, this one specifically, didn't do what I did. They instead stuck with the old motherboard, bought the BL Touch, which is the original bed leveling sensor out there that worked with all printers. What? Why? Huh? Okay. M by 6 and 3 by 6. It's a little concerning that it didn't fit. Ah, that's why it didn't fit. I installed it the wrong way. So, learn from me. When you're installing it, install it through the CR Touch first. So it's going to want to go through there first, and then it threads into these. That's why mine fell right off. And you're going to want to do it, as I said, so that the... One second, this screw is not wanting to come out. Come on. So close. There you go. So you're going to want to do it so that first off, this, if you can see, there is a little hole there. That's going to want to be where the wheel is next to your extruder. So you want that to line up exactly with that hole. Take it off and replace these screws with slightly longer ones. Hi there, Kenny from the future. I'm coming through all this trying to edit it, and I realized that it skipped over why that hole was important. That hole is for your mounting screw that connects to the wheel for the print head. You need to make sure that it's free so that it mounts flush against your printer. Now, you also want to use the long screws that come with the CR Touch so that it can go through the fan mount, the bracket that you just put on, and into the printer itself. Now in the next clip I will be showing me doing that, but I figured you guys would need that context to understand what was going on. Alright, here we go. Ah, you know what? It would help if I plugged it in. Alright, take 2 with it plugged in this time. See, oh, there you go. Alright, it booted up saying Ender, but it does say CR10 ready. Let's go into this real quick. Let's see. About printer, Marlin, extruders 1. Alright. Control. BL Touch is right there. I'm not going to do that quite yet. I'm going to have to make sure everything is labeled. But from the look of it, this is all ready to go. There's my Raspberry Pi. I haven't turned it on quite yet, but I will be running Octoprint on it, and we will get this thing leveled. Alright, now that we have everything set up printer-wise, we need to make sure that the software is running correctly. So we are going to format the motherboard with the newest version of Marlin for that printer. Now, Marlin is what most 3D printers automatically run off of. If you buy a 3D printer, 99% of the time, it is already running Marlin. It is how the computer inside of it determines how to move each of the motors, everything like that. So, if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see CR10 Marlin 2.0.1. There doesn't seem to be a difference between these two. In fact, they are published same day and everything. So I just went with the first one. You can see it here. And you want to make sure that it downloads as a bin file. If it downloads as a zipped file, you're going to want to unzip it and find the one that is labeled as a bin file. There is what the entire name is. And I'm going to just drag that over into this micro SD card that I will be putting in the machine before I turn it on. Now, the reason you have to do this is because the 4.2.7 board is originally formatted to be for the Ender 3, Ender 3 Max, Ender 3 Pro. It is not technically meant for the CR10. However, Creality did know that people wanted to use it for that to give the CR10 32-bit processing. So that is what it's doing, is it's rewriting what it was pre-programmed to do from Creality to be for the CR10. So I'm going to go pop this into my printer. I will show you guys what's going on with that. And then once it's all set up, we're going to pop into Octoprint and make sure everything is working correctly. So let's log into Octoprint real quick. Let's just do auto, see if it starts. Firmware broken. You'll need to take additional steps for Octopi to fully work with it. Interesting. This will be nice for us to learn. That's a pretty easy fix. So if we go here, we're going to go down. Oh, there we go. To, where was it? God, I haven't done this in a long time. Plugin Manager, Creality. Get more. There you go. There. Gotta install that. All right, so now that that's in, save it. I don't know. Okay, reconnect to the printer is needed for things to change effect. So I'm going to go reboot the system, and we will be back here in just a minute to see if that worked. Let's connect to it, and there we go. Not sure why it was doing it twice, but it seems like that is a common issue. Why is that not letting it be read? Oh, because it's a lot longer. Oh, there we go. All right, so now that I have that set up, I'm going to go, I need to delete this because that's no longer correct. I'm going to go level the bed, and we will start seeing if the CR Touch works. All right, so welcome back. One thing we are going to do right away is we're going to be installing a new plugin. We're going to get Bed Visualizer. This one is going to let us see the mesh of the bed. Now to do that, you're going to want to get it installed, and you're going to have to restart the Raspberry Pi before you can use it. But once you restart it, you get greeted with this screen. To be able to do it, we're going to go into the settings, and we are going to have to put in our own G code. But if you go here, it actually has everything already made for us. So we are just going to copy this, and we are going to paste it right in here, and then we are going to hit save. Now that we are connected, we know that the temperature is completely up to temperature. Both of them are. I don't have a webcam, unfortunately, yet, but we will eventually. So if we just go to, oh, don't have a time lapse. Go back to bed visualizer. We're going to do update mesh now. Alright, so I forgot one crucial step. When you are installing a CR Touch into a printer, you are supposed to take off the Z stopper. That is because the Z stopper no longer functions. The new Z stopper is the CR Touch. When it was going, it wanted to go lower than the Z stopper would allow, and it was just trying really hard to go down further when it physically could not move anymore. So I'm just going to be taking mine completely off. You can always get a new one. I forgot that also with a new bed, that one's probably too high compared to where the bed is, but I'm just going to take mine off completely and we will go from there. Now, what it's going to do at first is it's going to level it like it normally would. From there, it's going to check to make sure the bed is heating, which it should already be heated. I'm not sure why it's waiting so long. Alright, sorry about that, I missed it. It just made a loud beep letting me know it was starting. And it's going to go to 3 points on each y-axis that it wants to. I believe it's going to make a total of 9 points total. Yeah. Right there, probing point 3 of 9. So it's going to go through and it's going to probe each of these points and going to see how level they truly are. And once it's done, we will be able to see it over on Octoprint to see how warped this bed truly is. Alright, here we are. It's starting the first print. And hopefully every setting is done correctly. We will find out when it starts to do the leveling. So this one's going to take about 3 hours to do, so I'm going to show you guys the very beginning of it, and then I will do me taking it off and my first impressions of this new build plate bed. Alright, let's see. And so far we're not seeing anything. Sometimes it doesn't work right away. Hopefully it's not just bunching up. Yep, there you go. As you can see, sometimes with my printer the extrusion doesn't always work right away. So it was a little bit iffy back there and fix itself eventually. It looks like it is having a little bit of a hard time connecting to the bed, which is unfortunate. This was supposed to stop that from happening. Now that could be my issue. I could have done something wrong, but we will have to figure that out. I'm going to still let it start at least. See if it... No, it's not working at all. In fact, that is printing in the air. So I'm going to stop this right now. Alright. So I realized my mistake. I forgot to set the Z offset, meaning when it was fully leveled, it thought that the bottom of the CR Touch was actually the head of the printer, which is not the case. It was off a little bit. So, one second, sorry, I'm just resetting my filament because it was off and it was bugging me. Alright, so we are currently preheating it, and what we're going to do is I'm actually going to grab some tweezers and I'm going to get rid of this gunk that was left over from the last print, and we are going to go to Control, Bed Leveling, Auto Home It. Now what we're trying to do right now is we're trying to find that Z offset. So once it auto homes, alright, now we're going to go to Prepare, Move Axis, we're going to go to Z, and we're going to move by 0.1 millimeter. So we want to move this down to 0, because we know 0 was not close enough to the bed. Now we are going to grab our piece of paper that we used before, and if you look, where it's supposed to be level, it is not. So we are going to keep going down until it gives us some give. So we're going to keep moving it until it gives us some give. Oh, okay. So 0.9, 0.8, 0.9. So it seems like our Z offset is at negative 0.9. That means that it is off by just about, we're going to go up now. And we're going to remember negative 0.9. That means that it is off by just enough that it was not printing on the bed. So we're going to go here, go back to Prepare, no, sorry, back to Control. We're going to go down to Bed Leveling. We are going to, oh wait, wrong thing. I thought it was in there. Is it in Motion? No. Is it in BL Touch? No, it should be in Bed Leveling. Oh. Okay, so here we go. 0.9. That means when we go back and we go back, we go to Prepare, we go to Auto Home. Alright, here we go. It is doing the first priming line. That started much quicker than last time, which is great. There's a little bit of stringing going on, but I think that's due to my filament being a little old at this point. And we are starting the first line. Already so much better than last time. It looks like it had a tiny bit of a problem sticking right there, but overall it does seem like it's actually sticking. It seems like it's actually working now, and we're going to wait to see if that first little square stays or if I do need to edit it a tiny bit more. Alright, it's been a day. Unfortunately, I did not have my bed fully level and nothing was printing correctly, so I gave it a day, did it in the morning, and then after the 3 hours, came out pretty well. Let's see. Came off perfectly. Let's just get this off as well. Put it back on. Ow. So we got it right here. It's not moving right away, so I want to try to give it a little bit of a... Oh, that one will be easier. was able to break it apart like this pretty easily. This could be my printer settings themselves. I think I might have something a bit off on it, which is why it's not wanting to... Why it's not wanting to move right away. Yeah. I just broke it. So, no fault of the printer. That's on me. My settings aren't quite up to par yet, but this does make me hopeful. I think if I flip it, I might be able to get a printout where it works. Because I made the mistake of putting it on the side that had 4 hinges rather than the side that has 2. So maybe I'll try that, but that doesn't really matter right now. All that matters is this worked perfectly. Alright, there you have it. I think this has been by far the best upgrade series of upgrades that I've done to this printer, and I think that it will be highly beneficial in the future. I am very excited to see how it finishes. Right now it's still printing, but I am trusting that it will print well. I am ready to see how this goes. So, thank you all for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment. I will get to all of them. And I can't wait to see what else we can do with these printers that are very old.